slides at 60 frames per second or something like that because
Yeah.
okay, so we have new things that are going to come to the Explorer aligned with the OKRs. We have these objectives of increasing the number of messages, and in the past presentation we saw channels, but we have other objectives to create more social interaction between players, the number of friend requests accepted, and the number of passport opened. So we have several initiatives that are going to attack those OKRs and try to improve them. So the first, one of the first things that you see when you go into the Decentraland and open a profile is this thing, right? This is small, really small passport that is not really that useful, right? It's too small. You cannot really do much with it. You just can add as a friend or report or blog. And maybe when you go into collectibles, you can only show a few NFTs, but you don't show emotes, or you don't show names or lands or whatever. I mean, this is too small in order to create social interaction between players. So we are introducing a new passport. This is going to be a widescreen passport that it's open when you click on a player or when you select the 3 dots on the profile in any other place, in the chat or on channels, anywhere else. And on this one, we have several new actionables or things that you can do here in order to improve that kind of workflows between players. So here you will see that we now have a new path. We will allow players to inspect the avatar in 3D. One of the things that we see very commonly is that people actually get interested in a profile because they see some wearables that they are really strange or something like that. So they go and look with the camera to try to catch that, right? So opening the passport to open the 3D avatar and to be able to inspect it in 360, together with having a list of all the wearables that they have equipped, so they can take you directly to the marketplace to do a bid or to buy them. So now we're creating a new path from the Explorer to the marketplace for the first time. Now, another thing that you can see here is about social media links. So we see that there is a lot of, not a lot of people actually fill the information that they have on their profile. So we will be introducing, together with the text, links that they will take to Facebook, Instagram, or whatever other social network or website they want. As you can see, you can copy now the wallet address. You will see the mutual friends, so you can understand the kind of relation that you have with a person, and you will be able to interact with other social aspects like a private conversation we had before. So now this passport allows us to have sections, and the sections will be very good for example, look at the collectible. Now we'll be integrating the emotes in here and the names and the lands. So you will see all the NFTs that are part of the Decentraland ecosystem in the profile. But also we'll be able to buy and bid on all of those items, and we will have changed a little bit the aspect of the rarity of the NFT, so it's more recognizable. And yeah, about these sections, this allows us to do more things in the future. So coming next, probably, let's go back. Yes, here, coming next, what we're gonna do is maybe in the future, where if we implement the social network, people will be able to have a social feed where they post images and galleries and texts and stuff like that. So you will be able to see that in the profile and subscribe to this kind of feed. Also, we already have user stores in the marketplace, so people are able to promote themselves. So user store probably will be integrated in the profile as well, so we can create as well another path from the player profile into the marketplace. Another thing that is important is about creating more value for the names. So players will be able to customize their profile using different themes or different color palette, and also different type of effects that we're going to put in the background for the players. So you have some sort of a fire or watery effect or the smoke effect in your background. It will be up to the players that have a name. They will be able to customize that. Together with, that could be an NFT as well. Another thing that we want is to differentiate between guest players and registered players. So before, whenever you open a wallet, you didn't have any kind of way of understanding that was a guest. We will have a special passport for guests that tells you the kind of stuff that they are not able to do, and educating a little bit the players on that direction. But yeah, about the passport, this is about creating relationships, right? And creating relationships is about being able to create new friend requests. What happened with the new with the friend request? Um, we have seen in the data that 3 out of 4 friend requests are never resolved. They're never accepted or rejected. That's basically because maybe people lose a little bit the context of that friend request, and maybe they don't receive a proper notification on it, and they don't see it, right? So no friends, no private conversations, no friends, no network, and not engagement. So as well, when you are in the middle of the Decentraland, maybe you're in a festival or you're in a big event, people start sending you friend requests that you never resolve, but you don't have a context of who that person is or why that person wants to be a friend with you, and maybe that actually blocks you from accepting the friend request. So we are going to implement a new friend request workflow that allow players to send a specific message to the person that they want to be friend with. And the person that received the message going to receive a new notifications about it, and as well, you're going to have a more informed decision when they open the friend requests. These will allow players to understand the number of mutual friends that they have together. They have a link to the passport so they can see their profile. They will see that message. And if they accept, that message will become the first message of a private conversation. So we will start triggering a conversation from that friend request. With this, we hope that people will engage more and create more friends together with what happened with the passport. Also, we would like to make this fun, so we have fun and crazy animations whenever we create a friend request. Another thing that we think is important is about the level of interaction. So right now, whenever you are in the Decentraland and you see other people, you need to actually block your cursor and look into a person that needs to be close to you in order to open their passport. And this is not the best model in order to create relationship with people that you are actually seeing in a panorama or a big view. Whenever you are in a festival or in any big place that where there is crowded, it's very difficult really to point to a specific person that you want to look at. So what we're going to change is the interaction model exclusively for the players. Now, when your mouse is not locked, you will be able to interact with the UI as well as other players. So when you mouse over the players, you will be able to click on them and open their passports. This doesn't change the interaction model of the world. We want to investigate that a little bit further, but this is a small improvement that we think will help a lot to investigate the profiles and people getting interested in other people. And I think that's it. Well, no, I have one more thing. I wanted to show you something that we have in the oven that I think it will help a lot for discoverability. Let me go back here. I think I have this open here, right? Yes. So I am in one of the highest points of the Decentraland right now. And you see my screen, right? I am in one of the highest points in the Genesis Plaza, and right now we have this new feature. This is the infinite floor. The infinite floor will allow you to see the map and with different colors with no cost for performance. So now from here and not loading any of the parcels, I'm able to see the roads, the empty parcels, the scenes in pistachio green, and at the farther you can see another plazas or the blue in the districts. Whenever you walk the wall, this will be a much better experience as I'm gonna be loading the scene in front of me, but I know where I'm heading. I know the type of thing that I'm expecting when I'm working here, and this will help a lot to allow players to discover new experiences and traverse the world better. So this is just one thing that I thought it was cool to show. Thank you, everybody that has been working very hard on this. And I think that was all.
Thanks, Jorge, and thanks, Araro, for presenting that. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So I want to present this new tool that we're working on from the SDK team. It's kind of a side project from all of the bigger things we're working on, but like we wanted to give this visibility because it's a really cool feature. So this is what the tool looks like. Next slide. And one interesting thing about it is that it runs 100% in the browser. You don't need to download anything. You can just open a URL and you are there editing stuff. So next. You have the code on the left and the scene that code generates on the right. And as you make any changes to the code, it generates a brand new scene and it updates real time as you go tweaking your code and making modifications. So next, as you know, we're working on the SDK 7, which is a major release, and it's gonna take we're very close to having it ready, and it takes like a lot of of changes, and we wanted to test these things properly. So we started developing this as a testing tool, and it was great as a testing tool because next, it's always up to date. So as we make changes to all of the dependencies, the things that this is built on, we know that this this place where we're testing things is going to be always super up to date with everything. And also, next slide. It's also super easy to share code. Like if we find any kind of bug, we can share the entire context very easily with other people. And like that there's not going to be a different dependency or anything different. You're going to be able to reproduce that bug 100%. If you just click that button that says share, you can share everything that comes with what you're working on in that space, and like you properly validate that. Now we realized that this was not just great as not just great as a testing tool. It was also a learning tool, because of course people are going to have to learn how to use the new SDK, and we want to make that as smooth as possible. And like we have to give people like tools to be able to absorb all of this new information, and this is a perfect place to start. So next. It's great for learning because there's nothing to install. You don't have to go fetching any new versions of anything. You could just open a link and you're right there editing code. And by the way, what you're seeing there on screen is SDK 7 code. That's what it looks like. And next also, you can run any example and tweak it and try what happens if I change this one line. What happens if I add this one thing? And like by experimenting it with things, that's like the perfect way to learn and to learn by doing, rather than reading something that will probably leave you with a lot of doubts and assumptions. So next, we're including a lot of examples. Right now we have these, which you can easily switch to. There's an example drop down there, and you can pick any of those and just run from an initial set of states, and you can tweak that into whatever you want. Next slide. But the next step is to bring this into our docs. So right now our docs have a lot of snippets with code all over the place. And what we want to do with this is, next slide, is to add a button on every single code snippet and take you right to an environment where you can test that, and you can tweak it and understand it properly by trying to break it and test the limits and see how it properly works, and not just take all of your assumptions you have from reading it and assume it works like that. So a lot of other like platforms do this. Like you have W3 Schools, for example, and there's a lot of other places that have in-browser editors. And I've always thought it was a really, really good learning tool. And like we can absolutely do this. As you can see, like sorry, one second. Like as you can see, like the design of this is of course not finalized, and it doesn't look that great, especially after seeing all of the stuff Alvaro showed, which is polished and properly designed. But of course, this is not the final look. This is just my horrible attempts as a non-graphical designer. So next slide now, yes. I also want to give a sneak peek at something else, which is it's a different story. One of the main things, or one of the bigger, shinier changes we're making with SDK 7 is we're changing the UI. So whoever here has experimented with building scenes with a Decentraland SDK, probably one of the main pain points you ran into was the UI. It was horrible. It was unintuitive. It took millions of lines of code to do something basic, and it just felt like nasty and brittle and unfriendly. So this new UI is based very much on React. So whoever has experience working with React, you'll find this super familiar. And I mean, it's also fairly easy to read. It's kind of HTML, but with with more magic to it. So this is what UIs are going to look like for the SDK developers from now on. So now, yes, let's move to the next slide, and we have a little video to show, showing the editor in action. Could you please also expand it? So here we're playing around with the code on the left, and that's creating stuff on the right. And as you see, we'll now make some tweaks to what's in the code, and they'll be updating real time. For example, they were creating a cube, So now instead of creating a cube, let's just make it a sphere. And oops, there you go. It's a sphere. And of course, like that, we can edit anything with the code. And this example has, just a few lines, but of course you could write something, longer, more complicated, and it would just work as well. And as you can see, also there's, smart autocomplete, there's, suggestions, and there's all of the nice things that allow you to understand what you're doing and be one step ahead. So yeah, there you go. It just showed an autocomplete, and it was showing you like different options. And now we're going to move on to another example that will showcase the UI stuff I was just mentioning. So this is another example that does stuff with UI. And there we have a not very pretty, but functional enough UI that shows stuff dynamically. So it's also showing the player's position. As a player moves, it's updated in real time. And as a player clicks on the cube, it's also increasing a counter so that that number represents how many times the player clicked. And there, yeah, you can just tweak any variable, change the color, position, size of things, and it's a very nice environment also to tweak things and not having to reload everything every change you make. Didn't look prettier in the end, but that was not the objective.